Commitment day has come for 5-star Braylon Mullins, plus 4-star Bryson Tiller sets his commitment date. Does Indiana, do we even have a chance?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here, making this your first spot, your go-to spot, that is, for all things Indiana athletics. And the day has finally come, a day that we have been talking about for weeks and months and what feels like years, right? Braylon Mullins, the 5-star shooting guard, his commitment day has come. He will be committing later on this afternoon, evening, depending on where you are, right? On the 247 Sports channel. And just be sure you're around Locked On Hoosiers, because we're going to have something special for you coming up this afternoon, this evening, when that happens. And so he's picking between UConn, Indiana, and technically North Carolina. Those three are in his final three. We're going to talk about him today. Plus, Bryson Tiller, the 4-star top 20 prospect, has now made his commitment date, and that's coming up right around the corner. So the question is, does Indiana have a chance? Plus, we have an update on Kurtis Rourke, Indiana's quarterback, news that came out after our episode posted yesterday, so keep that in mind. And then just great news about Indiana football selling out the rest of the year, and just really reminiscing in the fact that this is a real thing, that this is actually happening in front of our eyes. So want to start with Braylon Mullins, who, again, you know all the details. You know all the stats. You know just how good this guy is. Braylon Mullins, the 5-star who started in the hundreds of the rankings, shot up over the last year, year and a half, and has since become one of the hottest prospects in all of high school basketball. And there's no doubt, because I've told you, I'm sure you've read it, I'm sure you've heard it, I'm sure you've seen it. Indiana has been in this thing the entire way. We have been right there, stride for stride, step for step, with the biggest programs in the country, including UConn, okay? And I do feel that Indiana had a chance all the way through. And notice how I'm saying that. I'm going to get there in a second. I do believe that Indiana did everything that we could to make this a possibility, to make this a reality, right? I think we sold him on the fact that, yes, we have NIL money, and I'm sure we had it to show and prove, right? No, not a briefcase like you see in the movies, but you know how this thing works. No McDonald's bags either, by the way. I think we have that, so I don't think that's a negative factor here. I know there are fans who will always just scream, oh, we didn't have enough money, the other school paid them more. That's not what's happening here. Believe me. I also believe that Indiana sold him on the changing of the offense, on how it's going to look different this year and moving forward, with better guard play, more effective guard play, more interactive guard play. I think we sold him on that. And then I think we tried to sell him on Indiana and staying home and playing at the spot that he could be near his family, where his family could see him as easy as they wanted to. Just hop in the car and drive an hour, 2 hours. Like, anybody that he knows could come and watch him play within less than half a day. I mean, you could leave at breakfast and get there by lunch. Like, I think all of those things stacked up in what we tried to sell Braylon Mullins. I just have a fear that it wasn't enough. I have a fear that when you have a back-to-back national championship winning coach who is really, really stinking good, has a program that is dominating college basketball, the most dominating program in the last 25 years. I'm not making that up. Just look it up. It's really hard to go against that. It's hard to recruit against that. It is. And for guys like Eric Reeby, like Braylon Mullins, and others who have taken UConn, I'm not just saying over Indiana, I'm just saying in general, players that have picked UConn, tends to work out for them, right? It tends to work. They put guys in the NBA. They win championships. They have fun. They get better. Everything you could ever want is in UConn right now. And that's what Indiana and all the other programs in college basketball are having to fight. And that's really, really hard. And so, do I think this thing is completely over? I mean, I guess it's not until the final decision comes, but I'm not feeling great going into the decision this afternoon, this evening, because I think the writing's on the wall here. I think we missed out on another one. Could be wrong. I could be shocked. I could be surprised. I could be ecstatic later this afternoon, and he could shock the world. But it just, all signs are leading to UConn, unfortunately. And I know what the narrative's going to be. I know what it's going to be, and we're going to talk about it. Indiana misses on another one. We were there at the end. Big-time recruit. Breaks our hearts once again. I get it. I totally understand. And maybe he surprises us. Maybe he doesn't. But that's just kind of how I feel on the commitment day of Braylon Mullins. Bryson Tiller, on the other hand, now, here we go again, right? Here we go again. Miss on one, we think. Let's just move on to the next one, see if we can get that one. Bryson Tiller is a 4-star power forward, a guy we've talked about a little bit more here as of late for the class of 2025. 6'9", 240 pounds, numbers according to 247, top 20 player in the country, 6th ranked power forward, and the 4th player out of the state of Georgia, a 4-star, solid player. That's 6'9", 240. If you have not seen him, I want you to go back and look at some pictures and some videos from him from a couple of years ago. When I was doing some of my research here. He was and I say this in not a bad way at all, he was a baby. Like, he was just a very young kid that you could see had some really solid skills on the basketball floor. And man, in a 2-year span, which I get it, they all do that. There's this crazy body cycle they all go through in high school, middle school. But what I'm saying is, this guy grew up tremendously. And in just 2 years, he got bigger, he got faster, he got stronger. He just looks like a solid dude. And when you watch him play, he's a beast, man. He can jump out of the gym. He can handle the basketball. He can just say, get out of the way. I'm going to go and get me a bucket. And defensively, I think will be an underrated part of his game when his length comes in and his size, where he can go up against just about anybody that he wants to on the defensive side of the floor and on the offensive side of the floor. This is somebody where you literally just hand him the basketball and say, go play, have fun, go get him, Tiger. And he'll do it. That's what Bryson Tiller is for a basketball program. He has said his commitment date, he will be committing on November 10th. Indiana's in there, Kansas, Georgia Tech. That seems to be where he's floating. I know Auburn is fighting in this thing too. There are lots and lots of things to still play out here. And we have, what is that, this is coming out on the 23rd. So, yeah, I mean, you're looking at about 3 weeks or so, give or take. So there's still a lot of time, and we know how recruiting changes. It can change overnight, folks. So keep your eye out on Bryson Tiller. We're going to talk a lot more about him as we get closer to that, but keep your eye on the top 20 player in the 2025 class, Bryson Tiller, who will be committing on November 10th, and Braylon Mullins will be committing today between Indiana, UConn, and North Carolina. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we will talk about Kurtis Rourke, who got an update from yesterday, had surgery on that thumb, and somehow the guy could be back as early as next week. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find a quality professional that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn, look, it's not just another job board, all right? LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but could be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're just looking in the wrong place. And on LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's a day, 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Join the 2.5 million small businesses right now who use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, thank you so much for being here back into Locked on Hoosiers. And if you're on the YouTube side of things or on the audio side, you can help me out a little bit with this free show to you every single day. YouTube, like the video, comment down below your thoughts on Braylon Mullins. Does he shock the world today? Does he pick Indiana or God, does he pick North Carolina? That'd be a shock. Or does he do the inevitable and pick the UConn Huskies? Then also subscribe to the channel, man. We are growing like crazy over here, over 3,200 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So do all of that for me. And then all of my audio listeners, be sure you follow us over there. Turn on your notifications as well so you never miss a new episode. And not going to take a lot of time on this, but do want to give a personal anecdote here. Today's a year that I've been doing this show, Locked on Hoosiers. 1 year of doing Locked on Hoosiers. October 23rd is when I took over a year ago. And no, I didn't start this show, but man, we've grown this show. And I say we because you are a huge part of that. So thank you so much for making this truly your first listen or your first watch every single day, even if it's just in your rotation of things that you listen to every day. That's cool. That's awesome. That is amazing that you take the time to take in all this information. Hopefully it's entertaining to you as well. And man, I've had so much fun, and we're nowhere near done. I mean, we are nowhere near done with Locked on Hoosiers. We are growing. September was one of the best months of this show's history. October's on pace to beat that as well, and that's all because of you. So thank you so much. A year is in the books. Let's put another one behind us, and let's get this thing rolling because lots more to talk about with football and basketball season right here. I mean, we're having a lot of fun. So thank you so much, and really, it is a blessing to be a year in to Locked on Hoosiers. Well, let's talk some football because we got an update yesterday on Kurtis Rourke, Indiana's starting quarterback, who I've continued to say is a Heisman hopeful. People kind of squirm when I say that, but I still believe that to be true. And when the episode yesterday came out, we did not know at the time that Kurtis Rourke was going to be having surgery on that thumb. Well, he did. He had surgery, successful surgery, that is. According to Pete Thamel, he tweeted this out yesterday morning, and it says, Indiana quarterback Kurtis Rourke underwent surgery on his injured right thumb on Monday, per ESPN sources that help provide some clarity on a potential return, including optimism that he could be back for Indiana's game at Michigan State on November 2nd. Because remember, the initial report was he's probably not going to play for Saturday. We don't really know what's going on, and we'll keep you updated. Well, there's your update. He had surgery on his thumb. And so what that means is Taven Jackson now steps in. And we talked a lot about him yesterday and the fact that this kid is not just stepping into college football for his first time. He was a starter a year ago. Like he knows how to play the game. Now, the starts he got last year were, oh goodness, with a completely different team than what he's playing with this year. And if he can start and play with that team last year, he can definitely start and play with this team this year with the players and the coaching staff and the fans. I mean, everything is different around Taven Jackson right now. And I think you could feel and I know this is the word that was used, but I think you could feel the confidence of Curt Cignetti and this team and this staff. And I think from you, the fans, about Taven Jackson. I mean, I haven't seen really any Indiana fans, and maybe, I'll admit, maybe this is just from an overconfidence thing from us, but I haven't seen anybody that says, oh no, not Taven Jackson. Oh no, we're done. We're screwed. It's over. Season, lock it up. Season's done. And I also haven't seen anybody say, if we don't have Kurtis Rourke, we can't win football games. Because think about this. Look at the games that Indiana has played. Kurtis Rourke has been great. He's been really, really good. Like, again, Heisman level good, I think. But I do believe, and I mean this in the best way possible, I do believe that Indiana has been so balanced that it hasn't taken elite performances for Indiana to win their ball games. Now, you dominate Nebraska the way you did, yeah, it took a special performance from Kurtis Rourke. Same thing with all your other wins, Northwestern and Maryland and UCLA. Like, you didn't just beat those teams, you beat those teams. You whooped those teams, right? And that took a special performance from a quarterback like Kurtis Rourke. But I still believe you probably could have won those games with a guy like Taven Jackson. Would they have been a lot closer? Yeah, probably. Would they have been more stressful? Yeah, probably. And sure, there's a chance you could have lost one of those games. I fully believe that. And I'm saying all that to say this: Indiana's going to be fine. We're okay. We're going to be just fine. And I do think Washington will be a tougher opponent than some people may be giving credit for. And keep an eye out. We'll have a crossover show later in the week with Roman Tomashoff, who is the Locked On Huskies, which is the Washington show. He'll tell us all about that Washington team so far this year. And I do think it'll be a tougher game because their defense is solid. Their defensive front is really, really talented. Probably one of the best units in the Big Ten. And so Indiana's going to have to lean on the balance that we've had all year between Ellison and Lawton running the football and getting it to playmakers like Surratt on the outside. And I think if it comes down to Taven Jackson having to make plays late, you don't want to be in that spot because we haven't seen him in that spot in quite some time. And that would start to make me a little bit nervous. But overall, him just running the offense and leading the team and trying to get a win at home against Washington, I'm not stressed about that. Because guess what? Kurtis Rourke doesn't play defense, right? He's not on the defensive side. And there are people, and you would be absolutely right, I may be one of them. I continue to ask the question, what has been more impressive? Indiana's high-powered offense, top 5 in the country, or Indiana's defense that ranks top 10 in the country? Like, which one's been more impressive? And the fact that you still have everything going for you on defense, knock on wood, right? Everybody's still balling out on that side. You're doing everything you need to do to win ball games. And not to mention the offensive line. The offensive line has been one that I'll admit I have not given enough credit and enough love to. That has helped the balance on offense tremendously because Kurtis Rourke has had all day to, set up a tent, take a nap, and then throw the football back there. The running backs have had gaps bigger than the Red Sea parting. They've done their job. They don't give up sacks. They allow them to throw the football. They allow the play to develop, and they also allow the running backs to get in open space, and we know how dangerous they are. That is why this team is going to be fine. They are not Kurtis Rourke and only Kurtis Rourke. Yes, he's great. And the fact that he's trying to come back a week after thumb surgery, or I guess technically 2 weeks after thumb surgery, is insane. That's wild to me. But we're not just a quarterback team. We have other players. We have other units. And that's what makes this team so dangerous. This isn't a Lamar Jackson at Louisville. This isn't a Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. This isn't a Cam Ward at Miami. This is a full team. And yeah, it sucks to see Kurtis Rourke not play, and hopefully he can come back 100% and not have to worry about that thumb. But we have other dudes. And that's what I'm trying to portray here, is the fact that we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Now, do I want to go on the road to Michigan State with Taven Jackson over Kurtis Rourke? No, not necessarily. Do I want to have Michigan come in here with Taven Jackson over Kurtis Rourke? No, not necessarily. But if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. The expectation, though, for Rourke is that he could be back by the Michigan State game on November 2nd. That is on the road. So keep that in mind. There's your latest update. I'm just telling you, we're going to be okay, especially against Washington. If we play how we've been playing across the board, then we're fine. Now, if we start turning the football over, defense can't get off the field, stupid penalties, like we start doing things like can't run the football, like if we start doing things like that, then yeah, we're in trouble. But I'm not worried. Can you tell that I'm not worried? I don't think Cignetti's worried, and I don't think you should be worried either. All right, final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Going to talk about this Indiana football team and the program and just where they are at this point. We've sold out this season. College game day is going to be here. Lee Corso returning to Bloomington. This team's getting legitimate playoff conversation. This has never happened here before. We're going to talk about that in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out live stats, play-by-play, whatever it is that you want to do. You can do it all in one spot on the FanDuel website, which is FanDuel.com. And speaking of all the NFL games coming up on Thursday, how about this? Vikings, after taking their first loss of the season, they head out to Los Angeles where they'll take on the Rams at SoFi Stadium. 2-4 is that Rams team. So according to our friends at FanDuel, Vikings favored by about 3 as of right now. So if you like that, you can jump on one of the best teams in the country, or you can jump on the Rams for the upset. You can do it all in one place at FanDuel.com. You'll get started right now with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All in one place on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thanks again for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers. Again, 1 year at Locked On Hoosiers is really unbelievable to think about. So thank you for being here and supporting the show. If you're looking for another show or other shows to support in our Locked On family, the Locked On College family, that is, you can check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On College Basketball with Isaac and Andy, and you can check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast with Craig Sheeman, who covers all things Big Ten Conference. A lot of football right now. He'll transition into basketball as that season gets going. So be sure that you go and check out those other shows as well. So for the final segment today, I wanted to just kind of reminisce, right? And just kind of talk and get the feelings out a little bit about where this football program is. I mean, let's sit back for a moment. Okay, let's sit back in our chairs for just a second. I want you to think about all the things that are happening around this program right now. You're a top 15 team in America. You're one of the very few undefeated teams in America. You were the first team to punch your ticket to a bowl game, which we do not take for granted here in Bloomington. Bowl games have been hard to come by in our lifetime here. You have a quarterback in Kurtis Rourke. Yes, he's injured, but is playing better than any quarterback we've seen in quite some time. You have players on this team that are talented enough to be playing at the likes of Georgia and Ohio State. I believe that. You have season tickets and regular season tickets that have sold out. There are no more available tickets through Indiana to any remaining home football game. You've sold out the rest of the season. You also just had a big noon kickoff game where the entire country watched you and questioned you and wondered how good you actually were, where you then put Nebraska on blast on national TV. And in response, the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN, has decided to send College Game Day and the whole crew down to Bloomington and broadcast live from Indiana. Think about all of that. And oh, by the way, we're in legitimate college football playoff conversations, ladies and gentlemen. Legitimate playoff conversations. And in terms of that, right, and I'm going to have some more on this as the week goes on. I understand that the playoff is expanded, and that definitely helps us in this particular season, right? When the playoff expanded, nobody was concerned about Indiana football. Nobody was like, "Oh, we got a chance now. We're gonna start making college football playoffs now that it's 12 teams." Nobody thought that. You didn't think that. I didn't think that. Nobody in their right minds thought that. But in this year, absolutely it helps. There's no doubt about it. But even if it was a 4-team playoff, we'd still be getting in those conversations. Maybe not as much because people still don't think we're going to win, right? They still count us out and don't think we can win all of our games, which is going to be tough. Ohio State's still on that schedule, but we'll play them when we get there, right? But just think about all those things that I just said. How many times in your lifetime in Indiana football, and there's some of you that have watched it a lot longer than me, you've been around a lot longer than I have. How many times have you been able to say that many accolades for one Indiana football team for one Indiana football season? Very rare. And we're only halfway done. We're halfway through the season, and we're saying all of those things. I'm not wishing on this. I'm not predicting this. But even if Indiana were to just absolutely flake out, lose out, just hit rock bottom and just pivot or whatever, right? Just fall and just completely, I don't even know, just completely disintegrate, this would still be a success. We still have something to build on. We have a lot of somethings to build on. Recruiting, transfer portal, success, winning, NIL, support, facilities. All of those things have come to fruition here, and we're still not done. And we're not going to lose out. We're not going to disintegrate. We're not going to have a pitfall here. We're going to continue to do what we do. But I just want you to take this in, and as hard as it is, don't take it for granted. And I know most of us aren't, but it's easy to get caught up in the emotions and say, oh, we're 7-0, number 13 in the country, man. Nobody can stop us. I can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. And I'm the same way. But now I don't want it to end, because we could be watching one of the greatest seasons in the history of this program, past and future, because we don't know what that holds, right? We have no idea. What if Kurtis Rourke leaves? What if he is a one-hit wonder? What if nobody ends up playing at Indiana? What if I'm not saying or predicting all of this. I'm just opening your eyes a little bit. And I want you to really enjoy and appreciate what we're watching right now, because this does not happen. This kind of a turnaround is not normal, especially here. And Kurtis Rourke and his staff and all the players, all the donors, all the boosters, all the people in the university, and you, the fans, everybody deserves credit for this. And it's so much fun to watch. And for me, selfishly, it's a heck of a lot of fun to cover. And I'm enjoying it. And I know you're enjoying the ride too. And I can't wait for this weekend when College Game Day and the entire college football world are watching what Indiana is doing. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again. 1 year on Locked On Hoosiers. It has flown by. It has been so much fun. And folks, I can't thank you enough for all the support you've given me, the support you've given the channel, all the engagement, whether it's commenting on YouTube or interacting with our posts or looking at our shorts and our reels. If you're on the audio side, right, tweeting at us and liking our stuff on Twitter at Locked On Hoosiers. I mean, all of that helps. And it's been a lot of work, man. Growing this show has not been easy, but it's been fun. And now it is becoming easy because you, the fans, are just so great. And when they asked me to take over this show, it was a no-brainer to do something like this and cover the teams that I love and talk about Indiana this way every single day. Something I was already doing in my everyday life. All I had to do was turn on a camera and a microphone, and you get to be a part of that. And I'm so thankful for you. And so, as I always say, on the YouTube side, like this video, comment down below your thoughts on everything we talked about today. Mullins and Tiller and high school basketball recruiting, Kurtis Rourke and Taven Jackson, and just enjoying the ride of Indiana football. And then be sure, if you're not already subscribed, now's a perfect time to do that. Be sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's just right there to the right of our Locked On Hoosiers logo. You become an everydayer, and you'll never miss a new episode that way. Audio listeners, same thing. Follow us, subscribe if you can, and turn on notifications, okay? We are back tomorrow. Special couple of episodes coming up. And hey, as I mentioned, don't miss out on what we've got coming up this afternoon for the Braylon Mullins commit, okay? Whether he picks Indiana or not, we're going to have something for you this afternoon right here on the Locked On Hoosiers YouTube channel. So we're back this afternoon and another normal episode tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.